This guy ain't no motherfucking MC. I know everything he's about to say against me. I am white. I am a fucking punk. I do live in a trailer with my mom. My boy Future is an Uncle Tom. I do got a dumb friend named Cheddar Bob who shoots himself in his leg with his own gun. I did get jumped by all 6 of you chumps. And Wink did fuck my girl. I'm still standing here screaming fuck the free world. Don't never try to judge me, dude. You don't know what the fuck I've been through.
Look, if you had one shot, one opportunity to record a podcast about getting drunk on leftover beer, who Eminem should rap battle, and this movie's terrible lessons about sex, would you capture it or just let it slip? You better lose yourself in the music, in the moment, as special guest Daron from the Board Games Are for Losers podcast joins us to find out if 8 Mile stands the test of time.
Test of time, James and Alan have their say. Do the movies you love still hold up today? James says Gladiator with a glutton. Alan says as a father, blah blah. It's the test of time, James and Alan have their say. Do the movies you love still hold up today? Test of time, James and Alan have their say. Do the movies you love still hold up today?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Test of Time in Quarantine Exile. I'm James Brief.
And I am Alan Noah. Can you be in quarantine and exile at the same time?
Well, we're in exile from our studio.
I suppose that works. But we're also joined by a very special guest. Daron is here once again, 2 weeks back to back from the Board Games Are for Losers podcast. Daron, how's it going?
Good. I mean, obviously I'm back because I literally have nothing else to do.
I mean, that's kind of why we're here too.
It's really the only joy in my life right now, seeing you guys.
Aw. I mean, that's sweet, but also sad. You have a family.
Oh, yeah. Shh.
Don't let them listen to this episode.
Wait. I assume that having a wife and 2 kids means quarantine is nothing but endless games of Settlers of Catan all day and all night.
The board gaming is nonstop for me, honestly. I've played so many board games with my kids. It's been awesome.
No, does that mean that your kids are losers, as per the title of your podcast?
Yes. In fact, my son will walk around the house going, I'm a loser. I'm a loser. He's 17, so it's not as fun anymore. No, he's 7. I'm kidding.
That's really cute. For any listeners who don't know about your podcast, do you want to give them the little spiel about what your show is and why they should listen and how they can listen?
Sure. That's great. So basically the reason I started the podcast is with my friend who's also named Daron, is when we heard you guys do a podcast, basically it was, anybody could do this. So we decided that we were going to... Can't argue with that. No, actually, I really had fun when I came on your show the first couple times. And in talking to Daron, we're both big board gamers, like modern day hobby board gamers, some of which the games you guys have played before. But really what started it was everybody at work kept making fun of us because Daron and I were going to conventions and playing board games all the time. And then this one particular person was merciless. And finally we said, well, why don't you play the game with us and see what happens? And she became addicted and she wanted to play nonstop. So then we thought, you know what, if we just could talk to these people who think we're losers and just say, like, look, play the games, it's actually fun, we could convert everybody into a board gamer. So that's what we started doing, but we made it into a podcast. So we have people on, we interview them, and then find out like what types of games they would like based on their interests and their hobbies and stuff. And we also make fun of them and drink and do all sorts of fun stuff. So it's not too serious, but it's all about board games.
Nice. And where can people find this podcast?
On the internet. Well, so the podcast is Board Games Are for Losers. So you can search on any of the many podcast hosting sites, or you can go to our website, boardgamesareforlosers.com, or follow us on any of the social medias at Board Game Losers.
Very nice. Very nice.
Can I leave now?
Yeah, I guess.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was wondering, today's movie, 8 Mile, how did you guys watch it?
I watched 8 Mile on TV. It was airing on Stars, and I just recorded it on the DVR and watched it on my Kindle Fire. Daron, how about you?
So after you guys made me pay $4 to watch White Men Can't Jump the other week, I said, no way. I am going...
Wait. That was your idea. You picked that movie.
Anyway, after you guys made me spend $4, I said, no way. I think I have this DVD. So I looked in my collection, which I hadn't looked at in 10 plus years. It is a very small collection, maybe like 50 DVDs, and I did in fact have the movie. So when I saw that I had the movie, it got me thinking back to your Office Space episode and the comment you guys made about during the late 90s and early 2000s, kind of like when we were in college or just finishing college, that was the time where if you liked a movie, you bought it. It was no questions asked. It was the most normal thing in the world. Even if you never watched it again, you just had it in your collection. And I was like, looking back at my DVDs, I was just laughing because this was a snapshot of my life 20 years ago, and it was bizarre. So I decided, in the interest of entertainment, to take a picture of those stacks of DVDs and send them to you to allow you to judge me.
Well, we are always judging you, Daron. I got to be honest. But thank you for sending that. And I'll post that picture to our Instagram so that our listeners can take a look at this photograph of DVDs. That'll be at Test of Time Pod on Instagram. The first thing I noticed when looking at your DVD collection is that, one, you and I have a lot of overlap. But two, why do you have 2 copies of Old School Unrated Edition?
That is a good question. I don't know. I did notice I had 2 copies of the movie 300. So I'm assuming that it's possible some of the wife's DVDs got mixed in there, but it's also possible I had 2 copies because I bought 2. I have no idea.
In case you wanted to watch it more than once.
Exactly, because they're disposable, right?
Right. Is your Indiana Jones box set, is that the full screen? It looks different from my widescreen collection.
Yes. So I should have figured this was going to come up because I believe you had made fun of me back in 2000 or whenever I got this in college that you noticed I got the full screen edition and you teased me mercilessly about that.
Sounds fair.
And I truthfully had no idea that was really a big deal. But yes, it is the full screen version.
Now, if these are really old DVDs of Indiana Jones and it's a 4-disc DVD, does it not include Crystal Skull?
No, it doesn't. Because when did that come out?
That's like 2008, I think.
Something like that.
I don't think I've bought a DVD outside of for the kids since like 2005, maybe.
Right, so what is that 4th DVD that's in that DVD set?
It's bonus materials.
What is it, like the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles pilot episode or something?
No, it's like featurettes and stuff.
It's actually an X-rated version called Indiana Bones. But
my verdict is it's a pretty decent collection. I've talked to Al before that at some point I wanted to do not just the movie War Games, which is kind of an 80s hacking film, but I want to do that with Hackers, which is a 90s hacking film. I noticed that you had that in a box set with early 2000s hacking, but computer-related film called Antitrust. I mean, you probably owned it because you wanted War Games or something?
So I think like a third or maybe like 20% of those DVDs came in this weird box set. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it was a box set. So yes, War Games and Antitrust and whatever the other one was came in like a box of computer movies, and then there was another one that was like adventure movies. So I think like 5 different box sets of 3 came in that. I have no idea where I got them. I'm fairly certain I've never watched those movies, but I had them because they came as part of this greater package of 15.
Okay, that's totally explainable. There's a couple DVDs here that I would like an explanation of, though.
Oh, I gotta go. Sorry.
So you own Police Academy, the like special edition of Police Academy 1. And another that I'd like you to explain, a couple others, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I have that on DVD also.
White Chicks. Then there's a couple films like The Man, and Robots, and Bangkok Dangerous. It's not that you watch these films, but you paid money at some point saying, I want to own Bangkok Dangerous so that I could watch this, I believe, Nicolas Cage film several times.
All right, so, okay, White Chicks, I'm 99% sure that was a gag gift. 99% sure. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that was a gag gift because it's a ridiculous movie. And actually, in preparing for White Men Can't Jump, Al and I were making fun of White Chicks.
Okay, Police Academy.
I know this is an easy out. I'm fairly certain that's my wife's movie because I don't remember ever buying that. Okay, Robots has a legitimate explanation. My cousin actually was an illustrator for the movie, so his name is in the credits.
Yeah, it's not like it's a weird film. It's just you don't own like 5 Pixar films and then, Shrek. Oh, you did. There's a Shrek in there.
No, there's Shrek 2 and Shrek 3, but not Shrek 1 or 4.
Right. It just seemed odd that Robots was like the one like that really went into like, I'm going to buy this one, not Lion King. So, okay, totally makes sense. All right, so cool. And I know that you just like Nicolas Cage.
That's absolutely it for Bangkok Dangerous. And The Man, okay, so I think I was at one point on a Eugene Levy kick, and he's in that movie with Samuel L. Jackson, I'm pretty sure.
Who goes on a Eugene Levy kick? What the fuck is that?
I don't know. He was in those the dog show movies, right? Like that whole troupe.
Yeah, the Christopher Guest movies, yeah.
Yes, I think it was around that time.
He's fantastic, and I'll tell you that I own The Man as well, and I only own it because there's a story as well. My brother gave it to me. I knew at the time it was a huge flop, and it was supposed to be horrible, and I'm like, why are you giving this to me? He goes, because you're the man.
Aww.
I think I like passed like my medical school boards exam or something. I don't know, but he like gave me that DVD as like sort of like the Hallmark card that would say you're the man for doing it. He gave me a DVD that said that.
I think I'd rather have the card.
So you watched 8 Mile on a DVD. All right, so that's probably the last DVD that you ever bought, maybe, right?
I don't know. I mean, it's got to be in that realm. But I do, when we get to the right spot, I got some fun DVD facts because I got to watch some of the extras on there. So, I mean,
awesome.
I'm going to contribute something to this podcast.
All right, in case you haven't seen this film or it's been a while, 8 Mile is set in 1995, and it's the semi-autobiographical story of Marshall Mathers, also known as Slim Shady, a.k.a. Eminem. And Mathers plays Jimmy B. Rabbit Smith, a young, unhappy blue-collar worker who dreams of becoming a successful rapper. And after breaking up with his girlfriend, he moves back home with his alcoholic mom and into a trailer north of Detroit's 8 Mile Road. Rabbit hopes that his music is his ticket to escape his bleak world, but he needs to prove that his lyrical skills in rap battles have what it takes. And in the first time he tries, he chokes. A wannabe promoter named Wink promises Rabbit fame and fortune, but his best friend Future pushes him to make his own way. In the end, Rabbit has one shot, one opportunity to lose himself in the music the moment you own it, and you better never let it go. You know, I actually think maybe I have a shot too.
I think you should do rap battles. That would be the best thing that ever happened. Ever.
I am constantly saying that all the time to you, James. Do more rap battles. Please.
I mean, I did write a screenplay of myself in a semi-autobiographical rap contest in 1995. It's the same thing as this, but that's actually just the semifinals that they do, and I win in the finals.
Oh, nice. So they just cut that out of the movie, the part where you're exactly. In it. I don't think it would have been as exciting if it was Eminem versus James Brief in the final.
Well, yeah, maybe not to you, but this film, 8 Mile, this movie had a $41 million budget, and it opened on November 8th, 2002, at number one with a $51 million opening. It only made 126 domestically, so that means it was very front-ended, meaning, it only made 2.5 times its opening weekend, but it made $242 million worldwide. I mean, this was a smash hit. Eminem did one film and never again. I think he was approached to be Matt Damon's role in Elysium and maybe one or two other films, but he hasn't done anything else. This film famously won an Oscar for the song Lose Yourself.
Yeah, and he's been in a couple other things as just like cameos, but yeah, he's not looking to like act in any real way after this movie.
Yeah, he did have a cameo in that notorious film, The Interview, with Seth Rogen and James Franco. But I was wondering, what is your fan level of Eminem, or are you not a fan? I was studying abroad when Slim Shady came out, so it became a huge hit, and I remember thinking like, this is a cool song, but I don't know if this is really going to be a hit in America, or maybe this is kind of like something like the Europeans are liking. In the beginning, his songs were very different than this. It was more, pop culture references and stuff. What is your fan level of Eminem?
So I am a big fan. And that's the reason why I picked this movie. That's why I like this movie. Back in the day, I was pretty into hip hop and rap, starting with Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and obviously he kind of bore Eminem, made his career in a way. All through high school and in college, and even after that, I've listened to rap and hip hop. And I was always a big fan of Eminem. I have several of his albums, both in like actual form and on now on iTunes. So I was always a big fan. I always thought he was just supremely talented, and the lyrics were just awesome. So that's why I got into it, and I loved the movie when it came out. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I also have been a fan for a long time. Whenever he puts out a new album, I always listen to it. I enjoyed his latest Music to Be Murdered By, which came out earlier this year. I think he's a very interesting artist. I think his lyrics and his approach are really fascinating. I think his political stance that he's taken lately is interesting. He's come out against Trump. He's come out for gun control. I find him to be a fascinating artist. I'll always listen to the new Eminem album. Real quick, I will tell a very short story of my Page days from when I worked at Saturday Night Live. He was a musical guest one week, and I don't really have a funny, interesting story about hanging out with him or anything, but he requested for his posse, I guess, like 1 million bottles of Heineken in like every satellite green room around NBC. And he did have a lot of people showed up, but there was a ton of beer left over. And me and my friend Scott, he and I were pages together. I think that was the first time ever we were wasted by the time we got to the after party, just because we were like drinking all the leftover Heinekens that Eminem had requested.
That's pretty awesome that you got like his leftover Heinekens. That's a pretty good story. I'll take that. Although I am surprised. I don't know what I was expecting to drink, but it's not a Heineken. Who drinks Heineken, really? I mean, some people do, obviously.
I mean, to be fair, they didn't drink very much of it. There was a lot of it left over.
Was there any weird food like Heineken and like peanut M&Ms or something, or is it just Heineken?
All I really remember was the Heineken.
Okay, fair enough. That's a good story. I like that.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I've been a fan of his, not as much as you guys. I saw this film once when it was in theaters. I liked it. It's not the kind of film that had many surprises. It was pretty much what I was expecting. I liked it back then, but this is the second time I've ever seen it. I did notice, Al, this is the second film that we've reviewed starring white 90s rappers.
No. Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope, sorry. Not going to let you put Vanilla Ice in the category as Eminem. No. Vanilla Ice is not a rapper. No. Just no.
I think you'll have to highlight later the one line in the rap battle where they make fun of Eminem by calling him Vanilla Ice. I think it's a perfect tie-in that Vanilla Ice really wasn't a rapper because they're using it to make fun of Eminem for.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely. There was definitely going to be a reference to Vanilla Ice in there.
I got to tell you, when I started the DVD and it was like playing while I was getting ready to watch it, Lose Yourself was like the, whatever that opening music on the DVD menu. And I was getting pumped up just listening to it right there. So I was like, all right, this is going to be good. So I hit play. I was all ready to go.
Yeah, it's a great song. And, there's little like hints of that song like throughout the movie, like they just kind of like play like that piano line and then kind of like that bass line kind of kicks up and then sort of fades away. But the movie starts off with a rap battle that Rabbit is in and he chokes. He can't think of anything or the motivation doesn't come and he leaves and he's humiliated because he's in a room filled with like screaming fans that just want to hear this rap battle. And it's worse than him doing a bad job. He just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I think choking is the worst possible thing you could do. Like getting something out and not being good would be bad enough, but he just can't say anything. It's humiliating.
To be fair, I kind of think losing a rap battle, if you think about it, might make him look even worse. But choking is pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think him not being able to come up with anything, he had no reason why he couldn't come up with something. He should have been ready to go. And he just, as soon as the crowd starts turning on him, he just freaks out and it's over. He can't say a word. And I think that's got to be the worst thing. In my history in rap battling, that is the worst thing.
And then it only gets worse for Rabbit when he goes home because he broke up with his girlfriend and he goes home to his mom's place, which is a trailer, and he walks in on his mom having sex with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend is a guy that he went to high school with, like his age, and it's played by Michael Shannon, who is just the best like villain bad guy around today. I mean, I forgot that he was in this movie. He always just plays these vile characters, and he's just one of those actors you just love to hate.
What else is he in?
He was General Zod in the Man of Steel film.
Right. Courtney and I just watched him in The Shape of Water maybe a week or two ago. He was the bad guy in that. He was an antagonist in Boardwalk Empire. He just pops up in a lot of things, and he's almost always, not always, but he's almost always just like this horrible villain. But like he chews the scenery and he's just so much fun to watch.
In this one, at least, he's just sleazy. He's not really a bad guy. He's just sleazy. He's banging some dude's mom, and I don't know what he's in it for, but he's just sleazy.
Yeah, the mother is played by, how do you pronounce her last name? The general way I always heard it was Basinger. But I think it might be Basinger, or how do you guys say it? Because I know you have a way of making fun of the way I pronounce words.
I would say Basinger.
I'm going to say the opposite of whatever James says so I can make fun of him. So I'm going to go with Basinger.
The trailer is just terrible. It's disgusting. And his mom gives him a car for his birthday, like an early birthday present, but the car doesn't start. It's just like one terrible thing after another.
Yeah, and so the next morning he's getting ready for work. He's trying to leave, and the car doesn't work. And that's when you meet Wink, who's, I guess, like a neighborhood guy. But he's this friend of B. Rabbit, and he's a promoter. He's the kind of guy who's like, oh, I know a guy who can get you this. He's that guy. And he's telling Rabbit, like, I can get you a deal. I can get you to the next level.
I've known guys like Wink. I don't know if you have, but like people who are like, oh, I've got this really big project and it's going to be huge and I'm taking you with me, man. It's a good thing to hear. It's nice, but like you're always kind of like, wait a second. Is this guy full of shit?
Yeah, we meet Rabbit and his group of friends. He's got kind of his buddies.
They're like in a rap crew. It's Rabbit and Future, played by Mekhi Phifer, and then three other guys. Two of them are brothers, and then Cheddar, who's the other white guy in the group. And their 313 is the name of their posse, collective, whatever you want to call it. and they're sort of rivals with the leaders of the free world. They're like the reigning champions of the rap battle scene, and they're the bad guys.
Yeah, I mean, you could think of it like it's sort of like Vanilla Ice's posse of rap people that were with him in Vanilla Ice.
No.
I mean, I'm saying a better version of it, but it's an analogy.
No. So the free world are like the popular guys. They have the Escalade and they're riding around in a nice car and they have the beautiful girlfriends. And the 3 1/3 they're the misfits who are not really from Detroit. B Rabbit's living across the divide now, and he's coming from the trailer park. So they're just the misfits, and they don't fit in. They're all likable characters, and I think that's the point. They're all likable, especially Cheddar Bob. He's just a goofball, and you immediately like him, even though he's a moron.
Right. And you have the one guy who's always just talking about like, oh, we're going to make so much money and we're going to have all the girls. And then his brother is the one who's like, we shouldn't be talking about women that way. We should be, more respectful. And if we don't treat our sisters well, who will? And they're like, shut up. We're trying to get laid.
There's a great scene in the lounge where Future's with that girl and that brother is saying like, oh, we got to treat our sisters with respect. And he's like giving him like, shut up. And she looks over. He's like, oh, no, that's cool. Yeah, it's cool. We should definitely give sisters respect. I like that guy. That guy plays a good character for sure.
But I did notice that he has the glasses on. I just noticed that was kind of like a Hollywood trope, that the one who's always saying these kind of quoting other people and famous historical figures, he has the glasses.
It was a little on the nose. I agree. Kind of his brother, who was the big fat guy, like he was the guy always talking about getting bitches, and then Cheddar Bob, the nerdy white guy, was just nerdy and white. Yeah, it was very stereotypical, but it worked.
Yeah, the female love interest in this movie is a character named Alex, who's played by Brittany Murphy, and we haven't watched Clueless yet. We haven't done Sin City yet, so I don't think we've done any Brittany Murphy movies, but she was a very talented actress who died very young, like a horrible story. I worked on a TV show about her and a couple other celebrities who had died, but yeah, just very, very sad story.
I had no idea she died.
Yeah, pneumonia.
Kind of weird, too, because I think her husband died of pneumonia like a month later. And it's something weird. And I've mentioned several times that one of my favorite animated programs of all time is King of the Hill. And she played Luann Platter brilliantly. She was fantastic in that. But one of Rabbit's friends kind of comes out and he kind of does like a rap. You move back in with your mom. You have no job. Something.
It's a parody. It's Future and B Rabbit are fixing his car, and they're making fun of the guy who's banging Rabbit's mom, and they're parodying Sweet Home Alabama and making fun of B Rabbit because now he's living at home in a trailer. And it just shows that B Rabbit is talented and that they can just sit there and come up with these lyrics out of nowhere.
It's funny, Daron, that you say the word parody there, because famously, as we all know, Weird Al parodied Lose Yourself with the song Couch Potato, and Eminem had no sense of humor about it and allowed Weird Al to do the parody, but prevented him from making a music video, which really hurt the Weird Al album because the lead single couldn't have a video. So yeah, it's okay for Eminem to parody Sweet Home Alabama, but not for Weird Al to parody you, Eminem? Hypocrite.
Yeah. Tweet at us, Eminem. What's the deal?
Yeah, come at me, bro.
You're starting a battle with him, huh?
Not a rap battle. A podcast battle.
Just a tweet battle. So the next scene they get to is that B Rabbit's crew goes to that lounge, and that's where there's a rap battle in the parking lot, and Future basically throws him into the mix, and you see he starts and he gets his confidence back. So you see he's a talented rapper and he can battle. And then the free world shows up and basically just shuts the whole thing down, and there's a fight. And then this is the first time you hear that Future and Wink don't get along because Wink's helping promote the free world. So there's definitely a beef there, and you're kind of seeing that Wink is slimy. Although you kind of knew that from the beginning, it's very much elevated during this scene.
Right. And it's very clear that Wink is promising all of these things to Rabbit, but doesn't really give a shit about Rabbit. Meanwhile, Future is Rabbit's best friend. They are like brothers, and Future's trying to like push Rabbit a little bit, but only because he believes in him and he knows that Rabbit is brilliant and capable of so much more. There's obviously some drama between Rabbit and Future because Rabbit's like, you don't know what's best for me, stop pushing me. But, you know, really Future does kind of know what's best for Rabbit, and Rabbit's in like this horrible funk in his life, and he kind of needs a best friend to push him in the right direction.
Yeah, and their beef with the free world kind of reaches its head when then, like a couple days later, they're driving through town and they see Free World and Wink hanging out, and that's when they get into another fight, and that's when your boy Cheddar Bob pulls out the gun.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because there's really no guns in this film. And the one person that pulls out a gun, everyone on both sides is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And there's probably a big difference between gangs that have guns and gangs that don't have guns. And these guys didn't have guns. And one guy, Cheddar, decided, I'm going to have a gun. Da-da-da.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because Papa Doc does have a gun. He pulls out one in one of the fights, and like you could tell people pull him back, and they're like, no, 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 this is not what you do. I don't know if that's what it was like back then or if that was just amongst those crews, but there definitely is a stigma against these guys having guns or using it, because whenever anybody pulls one out, it's like, James is right, they freeze. Everybody's like, whoa. This is not how we resolve. We'll fight, we'll beat the shit out of each other, but nobody's using guns. So I don't know how realistic that is.
I mean, when Cheddar pulls out the gun, I was immediately thinking, okay, someone's going to kill him. Like one of the guys in the other gang is going to shoot him in kind of like self-defense. And I was kind of right in that Cheddar does get shot, except it's that he shoots himself in the leg. I don't know that that was like necessarily supposed to be a statement about gun violence or anything like that, but he does not die. You know, he's okay. There's a moment later on in the movie where Rabbit and Cheddar sort of have like this heart to heart after Cheddar shot himself, and he's at home and he's recovering and he's alone on the couch. And I thought that that was going to be like a big moment, like, you know, an emotional scene. And it's really not. It's just kind of like, hey, I didn't want the guys to make fun of me. And Rabbit's like, yeah, okay. Well, bye.
Honestly, I think the entire scene was put in there for the purpose of using it later in one of the rap battles. Like that, it's really a focal point of the rap battles back and forth because they always mention Cheddar shooting himself with his own gun. But otherwise, yeah, there's no real payoff to the scene.
I thought they were going another way because they mentioned in the hospital that he was shot in the artery. So I'm like, oh, okay, he's going to like lose a leg. I'm like, I wonder if we're going to see some like Lieutenant Dan special effects here. Because we saw him later on and like he has a blanket when he has that, you know, that scene you're talking about. Like, I didn't want them to make fun of me. I'm like, here we go. They're going to pull the blanket away and there's going to be one leg. And like, no, it was nothing like that at all.
I was trying to figure out how this movie could be more like Forrest Gump, and that would have been it if they made him a Lieutenant Dan character.
Meanwhile, while Rabbit is like having these feuds with these other rap gangs, he's also just going to work. And, you know, there's this one scene where there's a rap battle that basically just erupts between these workers at the factory in Detroit. It's a woman and a man who get into the rap battle. The guy is Exhibit in a cameo role, and Exhibit basically starts making fun of one of the gay guys who works at the factory. And then that prompts Rabbit to jump in this fight and, you know, shut Exhibit down. It kind of leapt out at me because this movie does throw the F word around a lot. And we've talked about this in countless other episodes of the podcast. But it really stuck out to me because Eminem is saying it, and Eminem is one of those rappers who is kind of progressive, right, Daron?
You're absolutely right. You hear this guy making fun of the gay guy Paul, and then Eminem jumps in. You're like, oh great, he's going to defend Paul, but in doing so, he's like, he kind of still makes fun of homosexuals. Yeah, it stuck out at me too, as Eminem comes to his defense, but is still just as equally homophobic as that.
I worked in music television for a long time, and I worked with a guy who was gay, and he hated Eminem for this reason. And, yeah, you can say that Eminem is progressive and he supports gay rights. In The Real Slim Shady, he sings, if we can hump dead animals and antelopes, then there's no reason that a man and another man can't elope, which, hey, that's
amen.
That's a great sentiment, but he still throws the F word around. And my coworker used to say, it's not okay. You can't say that. And it's a horrible word. And I hate Eminem for saying it. And, I understand his point of view. And basically Eminem's argument in real life is sort of what Rabbit says in this movie, which is that there's a difference between being a gay person and being an F word. Okay, I guess that works for Eminem. It didn't work for my friend. So just throwing that out there.
It's possible the guy could have also evolved. That maybe, in 1995, yep, he says these things that maybe 2020 Rabbit or Eminem wouldn't say.
I think he still says it. I think he said it on his last album.
I don't know if he's homophobic or not, but I think he performed at the Grammys once with Elton John.
Yes, and that was like a show of solidarity, and that was a big deal. I remember that.
That's a rap battle I would love to see.
I would definitely pay money to see that.
We have to talk about the scene after the lunch truck rap battle where B Rabbit and Alex go into the factory and have sex, right? Like that's a good scene.
Yeah, that is a good scene. And I have to say, while watching it, I was like, it never happens in movies where they do the responsible thing, especially in an impromptu sexual encounter. But yeah, he really should have put on a condom. And I was also thinking that specifically because I thought that this character, Rabbit, has a daughter. I thought that the girl Lily, who lives in the trailer with them, was his daughter. It's not. It's his sister, apparently.
Yes. Yeah, it's his sister, but I think if you want to call it the allegory in his real life, is the same age as his daughter would have been at the time. And he speaks about his daughter in his raps all the time, but in this movie, it's his sister.
Right. And in the song Lose Yourself, he talks about not knowing his own daughter. But yeah, in the movie, it's his sister. His daughter in real life is Haley, and the sister in this movie is Lily.
Yeah, it's pretty much, right there. But Al, so you, out of that whole scene, you get he didn't put on a condom. That's really
yes.
No. What I got out of that scene is that he finished in like 30 seconds. I base my whole sexual experiences thereafter on like that's appropriate timing for a sexual encounter. This was the movie that taught me how to have sex.
Standing up in a factory in Detroit?
Well, not so much, but more about the timing element.
I don't think you should take lessons about sex from this movie based on either the lack of practicing safe sex or how long it lasts or none of it. Just none of it.
Where were you 18 years ago? Thanks, I've been doing this for 18 years.
I mean, I'm sorry for your wife that you can only have sex in open spaces in car factories, I guess.
It really inhibits our sex life. She's not going to like this.
Well, as far as we know, this character, she can only have sex in like non-bedroom places because very soon after this, we see her having sex like on the soundboard at a recording studio. And Rabbit gets really pissed off. He starts a fight. And then Rabbit gets a retaliatory ass a whooping.
The person that Alex was having sex with was Wink. And Wink had invited B Rabbit to a radio studio to meet this rapper. This was going to be the guy that got him to the next level. And meanwhile, Wink is banging Alex in the next room, and B Rabbit comes in and starts beating the crap out of him. All the while this interview is going on next door. And it's a great scene where you see them fighting in the background while in the soundproof studio, this interview is going on with this famous Detroit rapper.
Isn't it a slightly bad idea of Wink's when he's like, I'm going to invite Rabbit to the studio and, I'll be sure to like get the sex out of the way before he comes over. Like, doesn't he know Rabbit's on his way?
Yeah, I don't think Wink really thinks these things through. I think Wink's the kind of guy who he sees a pretty girl and he is interested in her. And Alex seems to really like Rabbit, but they're not boyfriend-girlfriend, and she doesn't really have any attachment to him. So, yeah, I mean, it does seem like a bad idea.
I think, in this case, Brittany Murphy plays this role perfectly. She's just so... And now I feel bad because she's dead, but, like, she's so dirty hot in this role that I think if she says to you, you're going to bang me on the studio... And you're like, well, but I think Rabbit's coming in. And she's like, no, we're going to have sex. You're like, all right, fine. Let's just do it quickly, in the 30-second allotted time, as is tradition. And you just get it out of the way and you do it. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to say no to that, in my opinion.
I get what you're saying. I mean, I do think the character of Alex in this movie is fairly paper thin. Like, they don't give her a lot to do. I do sort of like the fact that she never really apologizes for having sex with Wink.
Yeah.
Like, they don't do that trope of, I didn't mean it, or I wanted to get farther in my career, or anything like that. No, she slept with him. That's it.
I think the fact that the next time you see her is when B Rabbit's at work and he's debating whether or not to go to that rap battle that night at the shelter. This is his chance at redemption. And she basically comes up as like, yeah, I'm leaving. I heard you're too afraid to go battle that night. That's her apology. And that's the last time you really see her. So she has no qualms about what she did.
I assume that Brittany Murphy's character was a stand-in for his ex-wife, Cam. Based on his songs, they seem to have had a very rocky relationship. I was assuming he was like, yeah, I mean, this is the love interest of the film, but I'm still going to make her out to be like kind of a scumbag.
I don't know if it is. I think everything is kind of supposed to be a callback to parts of his real life, but I don't think it's meant to be autobiographical at all, other than the general framework of the movie. But I don't know.
I'm not sure. That's a good point. But let's get to that final rap battle, because I have some questions about this.
Oh, I have some answers.
Oh, okay. So first off, and this isn't just specific to this movie. This is like a question I always have whenever it's like a judge of like, let's hear it for this person. Now let's hear it for this person. Like, the whole applause-o-meter thing to decide the winner seems like really arbitrary. Like, how can you really gauge that if you're just like a guy in a room?
Are you proposing like there be 3 judges in this dank basement holding up signs that say 9.0 and 10. Come on.
I mean, it would be a little more official.
And the judge from the Soviet Union gives it a 7.8.
So I have a good friend whose brother actually does rap battles. He is white, and he sounds a heck of a lot like Eminem, and he's very talented. His name is John Boot, if you want to look him up on YouTube. It's actually pretty cool. That's what happens during these things. It looks exactly like it did in this basement, and that's what goes on. It's basically whoever the crowd likes more, and that's a real thing.
Okay, well, let me ask another question then. So in like the semifinals or whatever, Rabbit battles Lotto, and Rabbit wins, and then goes on to battle Papa Doc, who's the leader of the Free World crew. But Lotto is also in the Free World crew. So if Lotto had won, would Lotto have had to battle Papa Doc? Because they're in the same crew. So how would that work?
This is basically like the Karate Kid, when Danielson, in the semifinals, he's fighting a Cobra Kai and who tries to sweep the leg. Had that Cobra Kai guy won, that Cobra Kai would have fought. He would have fought the other Cobra Kai in the finals. So it's very similar to that, if I can use the Karate Kid analogy. Does that answer your question, Al?
No, because Papa Doc is the leader. So is Lotto gonna go up against the leader? How does that work?
I think this is obviously staged, like James said, like Karate Kid, to have the bad guys and the good guys fight. But I think the reality was, yes, they would battle. And when you go up there, you go against the person you're going against. Even if you're friends with them, you're going to pick out the things that people would make fun of about them. We would be friends, but if we rap battled, we'd talk about all the stupid things James has done on this podcast so far. That's what we would do. No, nothing. We edited all that stuff out.
Okay, I guess I get that. One thing that did bother me a little bit was every time that Rabbit battles someone, in this final scene, they all kind of start the same with him being not going when the 45 seconds go. And it's oh no, is he going to choke? And then he starts battling. And okay, the first time, that makes sense. But then when it happens a second time, and then the third time, I was just start. We know you're going to do it, just do the thing.
See, I don't think that was meant to be a suspenseful moment. I think that's just what happens. He's trying to get his rhythm and his beat down for the song. Now, I agree they probably could have just gone right into it. I don't think it was meant to be a suspenseful thing that he was going to choke, because you knew he wasn't going to choke. Obviously, it's an hour and a half into the movie. He better rap. Otherwise, this is a terrible movie.
Right. The final showdown against Papa Doc, who, by the way, we didn't mention, is Anthony Mackie, better known as the Falcon from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But that is just such an epic takedown of this guy. In all the other rap battles, he had been going second, and so he kind of gets last licks. But this time, he has to go first. And Rabbit just says all of the things that he knows Papa Doc is going to say about him, that he's trailer trash, that Wink had sex with his girl, that they beat him up the other night. And he just totally disarms him by making fun of himself and being all that shit happened to me, and I'm still going to stand here and say, fuck you. The way he gets the crowd on his side in the beginning, but if you're from the 313, put your hands up. But he didn't put his hands up because he's not from the 313. And the 313 is a Detroit area code, if that wasn't readily apparent. He's his real name is Clarence and his parents have a very happy marriage. I mean, it's so funny and it's amazing on every level.
It is the best. After this movie came out, I had, at the time when we were all using Napster, right, in the early 2000s to download music. I'm
not going to admit to that.
All right, let's just edit that out. I downloaded a compilation of the rap battles, and I would listen to them over and over again. It was great, and I absolutely loved this final battle. In fact, that line about, I know something about you. You went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. And the crowd is what? Because that is a sin in their book. You're supposed to be from the street. I would say that line to our friend Mailer. I would say, well, when we get into a disagreement, I'd be well, Mailer, your parents have a really good marriage. So, and that was it. That settled the argument. You're not street. You're not gangster enough. And that to me is just so good. He just crushes the guy so much that Papa Doc couldn't even respond. He had nothing. There's nothing he could do. He just gave up and walked off the stage.
First off, if you still happen to have that MP3, I would gladly take it because that is not on the 8 Mile soundtrack that's on Spotify. But also, there is a look of recognition when Rabbit hands Papa Doc the mic and he sees that Papa Doc is going to choke, that there's nothing he can say. And Rabbit looks at him and just for half a second, he feels bad for him because he went through that at the beginning of the movie and he knows that he has humiliated him and he's kind of humiliated himself by not saying anything. It's a really quick shot, but I really like that. I think that makes Rabbit a much more likable character.
Agreed. I know exactly what you're talking about. He's sitting there and he kind of looks up side-eyed at him, and it's that acknowledgement like, oh my God, he is going to choke, and I know what this is about.
It was a complete domination because I did not remember this film at all. So I was thinking exactly what you were referring to before. I was like, oh, he gets to go second every time. He gets to bat in the bottom of the ninth. Like, he gets to have the last laugh. And of course he's going to win. So in the last one, they're like, you get to choose. And I thought he's like, I'm going to go first so that I can show him up. And I'm like, I want to go second. I thought that was very interesting. And he totally does destroy him. And another thing you were talking about, Al, about how it's kind of decided on, sound. And yeah, a couple of them was kind of like 55-45. It wasn't really that decisive. But I was thinking like, oh, well, this is kind of stupid because people are just going to bring their friends and like they're just going to vote for whoever they came with. But then I'm like, no, this is 1995. Like today, you would put out a post on your Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, and you would get hundreds, if not even just dozens of people that would come to this thing. And this is just kind of a natural, like, random group of people that are just there to see the rap battles. There might be a couple people in the audience that know them, or they probably know both of them. And I thought it was kind of cool. Just thinking about it, that it would be very different in a test of time way. I don't think this kind of thing would be as fair today because with social media and the internet, you could just gather a lot of the audience to be on your side. It was a very satisfying ending. I didn't remember how this was going to end, and it was cool that he didn't even respond at all. And you totally agree with it. There's nothing more he could say because he goes, this is everything you could say bad about me. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah. So he has won the rap battle, but then he decides he's going to go back to work. He's going to be honest, and he's going to pick up more shifts at the factory, and he's not looking for the easy way out. He understands he's going to have to put in the time. And one could argue it's anticlimactic, but I think it's realistic, and I think it's a beautiful ending. But Daron, what do you think about this movie as a whole? Do you think that 8 Mile stands the test of time?
So I was curious going into this. I thought this was going to be a lot like the movie Rounders, where, if you remember, we did that one. Al, you didn't know anything about poker.
Correct. I still don't. Not at all.
Al, I didn't know you were a fan of Eminem. I was thinking like, oh, I like this movie because I liked his rap. I liked hip hop growing up. So I was curious to see how this turned out. I think if you strip away everything from this movie is an underdog story. Like, this guy, he's just trying to make it. He's in a crappy, shitty situation. His girlfriend broke up with him. He's living with his mom in a trailer park, and he's just trying to make it in the world. If you take away the rap battles and all the music, it's an underdog story that could be told today. When you throw in the rap battles and you throw in the fact that Eminem's still relevant today, his lyrics are still good, and he's still talented, there's not much that doesn't hold up. I will agree there's some lyrics that we talked about before that probably aren't best to feature, but I think it's real. I think it's what happens in these rap battles. I'm sure if you go on and watch these battles on YouTube, that's what's being said in them. I think it's probably a fairly realistic portrayal of what would happen, and I think it really does stand the test of time. I hadn't watched this movie in many, many years, and I was, like I said, I was pumped up when the music started playing, and I remembered all the words to the rap battles, and I was really into it. So yes, it does, for me, definitely hold up.
James, what do you think?
I was really looking forward to seeing how well this holds up because I hadn't seen it in a long time, and in 2002, having this flashback to 1995, really, it loses something that doesn't stand up. And this is supposed to be like a couple years ago, because more like, yeah, the Eminem actor here is like in his early 30s, but just pretend he's 22, Now it works differently, but this is a period piece. This is a period piece now of 1995, no longer 7 years ago. This is now decades ago, back in the late 20th century. On the other hand, this is kind of the Mighty Ducks formula. I really thought he was going to be really good at first in that opening scene, and he totally blows it, and then I'm like, oh, okay. So he's probably going to face this person in the very last scene and win. And, I mean, to be fair, it's the Mighty Ducks Karate Kid formula, and I really was thinking, this is like Karate Kid, and I was kind of thinking something you were thinking, Al, that, yeah, this movie does hinge on, he doesn't decisively win rounds 1 or 2. Like, it's kind of a good thing he was a little bit better than them. That being said, the film doesn't follow all of the formulas that I thought. Like, you touch on it, Al, like, it ends kind of abruptly because a lesser film, the goal of this would have been, and the winner of this rap battle, they're gonna be signed to a 2-record album deal. Like, there's no record contract at the end of this film. I'm not convinced that Rabbit is Eminem. Like, I don't know that Rabbit becomes successful. Rabbit might just become just some guy. Basically, Rabbit might become every other white rapper from the year 2000 to the year 2020. He probably doesn't make it. And I thought that was very interesting. And they don't show him having a victory there or getting the girl or getting out of the trailer that he is. He says, I am trailer trash. You know, he says, I'm proud of it. So it's a very good movie. They did not play Lose Yourself until it was appropriate at the end. So yeah, I say it stands the test of time. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. It definitely stands the test of time. This is a phenomenal movie. The acting is great all around. Mekhi Phifer is phenomenal. I feel like he should be in more stuff. I don't know why he isn't. Kim Basinger hasn't done a ton this century, I guess, you know, like in the 2000s. And I don't really know why that is. But it's just a really entertaining movie. It's not schmaltzy, even though it is kind of well-worn territory of the guy who's beat up and has to believe in himself, and he's got the skills. If only he had the confidence. And yeah, you know, that story has been told before, but I think this is really well done. We, the audience, know that Eminem is incredibly talented, so that does sort of help, but we're just enjoying watching him do what we know he can do and come up with these rhymes and come up with these takedowns. And it's really entertaining. It works on every level. I really enjoyed watching it. Yeah, it absolutely stands the test of time. No brainer.
Yes.
Oh, you're very excited, Daron.
Well, you broke my heart with The Rock back 4 or 5 years ago whenever we did that. Now you've sort of started on your path to redemption. So good job.
I mean, The Rock is a garbage movie. Everyone knows that. The 4 movies you picked after that were much better. So, you know, I'm going to say a nice thing about a nice movie, man.
Wait, so does that mean I've done 5 episodes?
It does mean that. And because of that fact, there's something that James and I want to give you. Obviously, we're not together in person, but I had something sent to your house today. Did you happen to receive a package?
I did. We got a bunch of shampoo and soap. Was that you guys?
Yes.
No, that was probably just your wife being smart and ordering quarantine supplies.
Oh, right.
Good thinking, Lorelai. Way to go. But open up that other package you got today, Daron. We'll wait.
All right. And what's good is Lorelai's in the room, so she will be able to judge this gift. I will relay her comments to you.
Okay.
What do you think of my new beautiful sweatshirt? She threw up. She actually said she likes it, so it is a gray hooded zip-up sweatshirt, the Test of Time 5 Timers Club.
Yeah, we've got a new member of the 5 Timers Club. Way to go, Daron. This is a very exclusive club. Only 2 other members besides you. So welcome to the 5 Timers Club.
Daron, how many years have you been married?
Actually, 10 years.
Are you and your wife, are you guys in the 5 Timers Club?
The 5 times that we've had sex? Yes.
He might make it there tonight if he's lucky.
Oh, she said I might make it there tonight if I'm lucky. I gotta go. Do you want to include it on the podcast? It'll only add an extra 30 seconds.
It's going to take a lot longer than that because first you have to get to the car factory. You got to find that one spot in the stacks. I mean, it's like a whole process. Then the sex is only 30 seconds.
I have several car factories picked out already.
Oh, nice. Well, Daron, thank you so much for coming on the show. Not once, not twice, not thrice, not 4 ice, but 5 times. It's been so cool having you. We'll have to get you back on for a 6th time one of these days. But next week, James and I will be back for episode number 200.
100.
Wow. So wait, I don't get to be back on for episode 200.
No, you do not. This is a special moment for James and I and our listeners as we celebrate this epic milestone with what movie, James?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes! This is an epic movie and it's a great one for episode 200. We do hope you'll join us next week for that episode. That's going to be a fun one. In the meantime, we are at Test of Time Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Write to us. Tell us your favorite rap battle takedowns, your favorite places to have sex standing up in Detroit. And I don't know, anything else?
No, that pretty much sums it up.
And we'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.